Our film begins with a group of reckless friends walking down the street together. They then go to the swimming pool where they take drugs and engage in illicit relationships. After that, Mark, the film's protagonist, appears and is attracted to a beautiful girl at the party. He tries to start a relationship with her, but she rejects him, which angers him, and he leaves angrily to go home and falls asleep. In the morning, his mother wakes him up and tells him that his uncle and aunt, who are coming from Russia, will be visiting them today. Shortly after, his uncle and aunt arrive at their home. His aunt is dressed in very eye-catching clothes, and Mark focuses heavily on her appearance, to the point that even his sister comments on her outfit. While they are on the balcony, his sister tells him that she also noticed Dinah's, his uncle's wife, clothes. Suddenly, their mother interrupts them and asks them not to talk like that about their aunt, explaining that this is the usual style of dressing in Russia. She also tells them that their cousin will arrive tomorrow and asks Mark to be responsible for taking care of her. The next day, they all go to the airport to pick up Natasha, their 14-year-old cousin, who is very beautiful but doesn't seem happy or engaged with them. His mother asks him to take Natasha out and entertain her for a while. Mark takes her to show her the house, then brings her to his room. Natasha asks him how he spends his time alone in the room, and he replies that he reads books and watches movies. But she doesn't believe him and asks if he brings girls to his room and has relationships with them. Mark is surprised by her words and laughs, as he thought she was an innocent child. However, he is shocked when she tells him she has had relationships with many boys and shows him pictures of herself with them. Natasha tells him she wants to have a relationship with him, but he refuses, saying they are relatives and cannot do that. She replies that being relatives doesn't matter to her, and tells him she dislikes her mother because she engages in illicit relationships and considers her a bad woman. The next day, Mark is seen with his friend, who gives him drugs to distribute, revealing that Mark has been involved in drug distribution for a long time. In the evening, his mother asks him to take Natasha out to show her the city and entertain her. The next day, Mark goes to Natasha's house, where her mother greets him and tells him that Natasha is angry with her for forcing her to leave Russia and her friends. Natasha's mother then takes Mark to Natasha's room, where Natasha starts arguing with her mother, then drags Mark out and runs from the house, with Mark chasing her. Natasha tells Mark she hates her mother, and they then go together to Mark's friend who is involved in drug dealing and spend some time there. Later, Mark takes the drugs to distribute and brings Natasha with him. They enjoy their time together, and Natasha's mood starts to improve and she begins to enjoy herself. The next day, they go out again, have a good time, and then return home. Natasha asks Mark to try hashish, and they start using it together. Natasha opens Mark's computer, watches the movies he watches, becomes more involved in his world, and then begins a relationship with him. Afterward, Natasha begins to tell Mark about her life and the suffering she has endured. She reveals she has been working in prostitution since she was 12, forced into it by her mother, who brings clients, takes all the money, and gives Natasha nothing. This is why Natasha hates her mother so much. The relationship between Mark and Natasha improves, and Natasha stays at Mark's house, where she is very happy, especially since she loves his family. Over time, Mark starts to fall in love with Natasha. One night, Mark takes Natasha to a party where they have a good time. The next day, Natasha's parents go on vacation, leaving Natasha with Mark, and they see how well he takes care of her. One night, Natasha enters Mark's room and tells him she can't sleep, so Mark takes her for a walk outside. Natasha tells him she's very happy with them and doesn't want to return to her mother. However, the next day, Natasha's parents return from their trip and go to Mark's house to pick up Natasha. She refuses to go with them, causing her mother to become angry and accuse Natasha of wanting to stay because of her relationship with Mark. Natasha becomes very upset and argues fiercely with her mother, telling her she is not like her and that Mark is her cousin. Mark's father intervenes to resolve the issue and makes Natasha go with her mother. The next day, Mark goes to Natasha's house to apologize to her mother for his relationship with Natasha. But her mother responds that she knows Natasha was the one who pushed him into it and that he will not see Natasha again. She then closes the door in his face. Mark returns home feeling very sad. But that night, Natasha surprises him by saying she wants to escape with him to America to start a new life together. She also tells him that her father left her mother because of her. When Mark asks why, Natasha reveals that she had a relationship with her uncle, who is Mark's father. Mark allows her to stay at his house that night, but nothing happens between them. The next day, Mark gives her money to help her in America, as he cannot run away with her. Natasha leaves the house at dawn to avoid being seen. After everyone wakes up, they discuss what happened with Gina and her husband. But Mark does not speak with them and pretends he knows nothing. Later, his friend calls him, but Mark does not answer. A few days later, Mark goes to his friend to pick up the drugs he will distribute. Here, Mark is shocked to find Natasha at his friend's house. Mark is furious because he knows Natasha cannot live without engaging in relationships and suspects she may have had a relationship with his friend. Mark argues with his friend, telling him that Natasha was supposed to be in America. His friend responds, "I tried to call you many times to tell you she was at my house, but you didn't answer." He also tells Mark that Natasha is still a child and cannot live in America on her own. Despite this, Mark remains angry and looks at Natasha, who is very sad about him. Mark leaves her and returns to his home, deeply saddened because Natasha was the first girl he loved sincerely. And so, our movie ends. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch the new videos that you will surely enjoy.